The act of surviving together. There's nothing better than foraging, creating a base together, and building a thriving community before it all comes apart from death, disease, or zombies. Even with all of the terrible things that can happen, survival games are still immensely popular and have some of the most dedicated fan bases out there. Let's take a look at 15 of the best survival games worth playing in co-op. Don't Starve Together. Expanding upon Klee Entertainment's excellent survival experience, Don't Starve Together is more than just the base game with co-op mechanics. It offers 3 modes: Survival, which turns dead players into ghosts that drain the sanity of the living; Wilderness, which puts each player in a random location; and Endless, where players can respawn endlessly. With its plethora of content, from DLC like Reign of Giants, Shipwrecked, and Hamlet, to new characters and free updates, Don't Starve Together remains one of the premier multiplayer survival experiences. Outward. Somewhat Kinshi-like in its demeanor, Outward has the benefit of both online and local split-screen co-op. The Blood Price journey is brutal enough as is, but enemies sport increased damage and health. With 2 players, one can make use of benefits like assigning guards while sleeping, taking up specific roles, one dealing in magic or support while the other fights or tanks, and whatnot. It's not the most polished experience, but Outward's sheer freedom makes it worth checking out. Terraria. When talking about survival experiences, Terraria has to be near the top. Often cited as Minecraft in 2D, Terraria combines RPG elements, crafting, loot, insane boss fights, and exploration into one fun package. You can choose to go hardcore though and face death at your peril. Do so with friends, especially when facing the likes of Duke Fishron for maximum suffering. With Journey's End, Terraria even has Master Mode, allowing you to up the challenge even further. Rust. Despite its age, Rust still manages to provide a frustrating, taxing, and yet addictive survival experience like no other. Start naked with nothing to lose and either cooperate or trick other players, friends included, to work your way up the food chain. Craft different things, build a base, survive against all kinds of terrors, and then lose it all when a group with guns decide to take you prisoner. Then rage quit and do it all over again. Starbound. Often cited as inferior to Terraria, Chucklefish's Starbound has its appeal. There's a stronger emphasis on story, and the sci-fi setting means that you can explore entire planets that are procedurally generated. Colonize said planets, craft tons of different items, capture monsters who will fight with you, or take up arms as a bounty hunter with micro-dungeons and procedurally generated quests. There's a lot to sink one's teeth into, especially with drop-in, drop-out co-op. The Forest. Set on a mysterious island following a plane crash, The Forest emphasizes horror as much as survival. The land is beset by clans of cannibalistic beings who will communicate strangely one day and try to tear you apart the next. In the midst of building a proper shelter and means to survive, you'll want to venture into the more mysterious parts of the island to find your missing son. With gorgeous visuals and a genuinely terrifying ambiance, especially at night, The Forest will draw you in and never let go. The Wild 8. Another story-driven survival title, this time focusing on 8 survivors stranded in the Alaskan wilderness, following a plane crash, coincidentally enough. Strange things are going on, and eventually you'll be running into anomalies and weird facilities. Crafting, resource gathering, and upgrading equipment are the name of the game as you survive against wildlife and nature alike with up to 8 players. The camera takes some getting used to, but the unique atmosphere and visuals help set the Wild 8 apart. Minecraft. Perhaps the most popular survival game for the past several years, Minecraft has long been a bastion for creativity and collaboration. Survival has long been the default way to play as you gather resources, eat food to stave off hunger, fend off mobs, construct your own base, and mine for even more resources. More ambitious players might seek rarer resources like diamonds and attempt to take down bosses like the Ender Dragon or the Wither. Easy to get into and truly infinite in scope, Minecraft remains a classic. 7 Days to Die. 7 Days to Die is a curious title. It's a zombie survival title that's been in early access since December 2013 and was poorly received by critics on consoles. Yet it's sold 10 million units thus far with its base building, customization, disciplines, skills, zombie archetypes, and even numerous ailments garnering praise from fans. One of the core mechanics involves weight, as buildings can outright collapse if you don't construct them properly. 7 Days to Die is certainly a fun experience with friends, even with its subpar looks and bugs. State of Decay 2. Though quite unpolished at launch, Undead Labs' State of Decay 2 has improved significantly with new content and new mechanics. The base game experience is still very compelling, as you generate a pair of survivors with their own dynamic, choose one of 3 towns to hunker down in and struggle to garner supplies, upgrade defenses, etc. Eventually you'll choose a leader, who's despotic, or simply plunge headfirst into undead nests and barely survive. Even with somewhat clunky combat, State of Decay 2 is still a good time. No More Room in Hell. Initially a mod for Half-Life 2, No More Room in Hell released as a standalone title and quickly garnered praise. The premise sees up to 8 players either completing objectives across the map to escape or surviving against waves of zombies while defending different sectors. It's the combat mechanics that really set it apart. Guns and ammo aren't common, so you need to think carefully about shooting, that too without any crosshairs. No More Room in Hell still holds up despite its age, and a sequel is slowly but surely coming along. Conan Exiles. Imagine Rust but set in the Conan universe, with more extensive customization, a thrall system for turning captured NPCs into benefits, mounts, and more. There's even a pantheon to swear allegiances to, which can manifest as a giant avatar used to decimate other players and all they've worked for. Gathering resources, crafting, and hunting are still key to the experience, but it's the fantasy element that gives Conan Exiles an edge. No Man's Sky. Hello Games' No Man's Sky has become quite the space survival title, especially with its addition of survival mode, permadeath mode, and proper multiplayer support, not to mention actually running into other players in the world. Other subsequent updates like underwater exploration, exomechs for more hazardous protection, more variety to planet generation, or the new derelicts with their horrors add even more options for survival-minded players. And of course, having so many quality of life improvements added over the years doesn't hurt either. EMPYRION, Galactic Survival. Another space sandbox title with a focus on exploration, EMPYRION Galactic Survival is as much about surviving and creating different vehicles and items as it is about player interaction and procedurally generated worlds. There's even PvP combat, unlike No Man's Sky, but you can also cooperate and build huge space stations and fleets to conquer the universe. Don't get complacent though, especially with alien wildlife and troops out to get you. BAROTRAUMA. You've survived in space, harsh deserts, zombie-infested cities, and creepy forests. What's next but to go underwater and attempt to manage a submarine with friends? Customize the vessel how you see fit and then manage all of its different aspects, from sonar and engines to repairs and weapons, especially when sea monsters come calling. Maps and missions are procedurally generated, and there are also 6 classes to choose from. Just be careful if one of your friends decides to stage a mutiny, especially if they're in charge of the nuclear reactor. And that about does it for this video. If you enjoyed what you watched and want to see more from Gaming Bolt, you can always hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon next to it. That way you will never miss any of our videos.